Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Darksiders 3 with Chaos Counseling. Question: did I say Darksiders 2 when I introduced?
No, you said 3. You said 3.
Okay, because recently I posted an episode of Soul Calibur 6. There, I said Soul Calibur 3, so it got me really self-conscious about that.
I thought you were more worried because of the incident with the orange and apple juice at Benny's today.
What?
What?
When you ordered apple juice and you thought you said apple juice, but they brought you orange juice. And then we freaked out because we felt bad because we hate when we tell waiters or waitresses they messed up on something. Yeah. It's like, no, we love you, we swear, we're not trying to be assholes.
No, yeah. I always feel bad whenever, because that actually happened to me one time when I was, so my mom goes on, like, business trips, and she took me to Canada one time. So we were eating out to eat. We were in a tourist town, so naturally when you're in tourist towns, the waiters and waitresses, you know, kind of have to be a certain way and present a certain way because there are a lot of businesses there. There's like a certain level of professionalism that is expected and whatnot. So it's just me and my mom. We're just there. And my mom like casually mentions to the waitress like, oh, we ordered like cheesy bread. Can we know when that's coming? And she paused. She was Russian, by the way.
Oh.
Beautiful Russian woman. Holy crap. Anyway, she paused and she was like,
Oh, I thought you meant she was hurrying.
no. Well, she was after this.
Yeah.
But she like paused and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll get that right now. And so she like just ran off and both of us were like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is that she brought it. They brought extra on the house. And the manager came over.
So sorry.
It's okay. The manager came over and was just like, here, you guys go. And we're like, oh, it's fine. It's fine.
We just wondered.
We just wanted, we made sure that we tipped her extra to be like, hey, you did good, sweetheart.
No, bless your heart.
So good.
Yeah, no, it's anytime just because I know.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Come along, child.
Wow.
Come
But,
with me.
Just how shit restaurant businesses, and especially for waiters and waitresses. But like, it just is also my anxiety.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because like, if I'm for some reason I'm at a sit down place where they have traditional waiters and waitresses, I can easily laugh off both either of our mistakes, and we're able to be smiley, get an extra tip, and it's good.
Yeah.
But if I'm like at a fast food place, that's when I get like super anxious because like I went to Cafeteria once, and I ordered a beef burrito.
Just once. Only once.
Only the one time.
Only one.
I could only betray my father once. But I ordered a beef burrito, and they gave me the pork, which it's hard to tell the difference between shredded beef and pork.
A little, yeah.
So I just
Especially
assume.
the way they make it.
Yeah, so I'm just like, okay, yeah, they put it in. And then, as they rang it up, I saw pork, and I'm like, oh no, I ordered a beef burrito. And they're like, and I got yelled at.
What?
Like, flat out yelled at about, no, you ordered pork. I'm pretty sure I said beef, and so it's just like, I'm sorry, I thought I said beef. Did I not say beef? And I started freaking out, and eventually I just took the pork burrito, sat at a table, and ate it.
Oh my gosh,
and it's
that's
like,
so stressful.
it's tasty, but it's not what I ordered.
No, like, usually I'm pretty sympathetic to fast food workers or any retail worker because, my goodness, the amount of stuff that they see in the day is something I will never comprehend.
Now,
And I assume it was just like a bad day
It must have been, so I have to assume that, but at the same time, it's like,
But it's still, you're just like, it's fine, it's fine.
I'll eat this, it's okay.
I got yelled at one time in the grocery store. Anyway, go on.
yeah, I'm not trying to, because you should never yell at someone for that. But as I work in a cafeteria, I've had so many times where I'm like, okay, anything else? No, that's it. I hand it to him. Hey, why didn't you give me whatever? I'm like, you didn't ask for it. So and then a lot of them like, yeah, I did. I'm like, no, you didn't. You said, one of my favorite is, I want it on the side. And then they're like, why didn't you put it in a bowl? I'm like, because you didn't ask for a bowl. Well, I said on the side. I'm like, on the side means not on the main item. It doesn't mean a completely separate container.
Yeah.
It's like on the side only means a completely separate container if it's like a sauce, something you couldn't just put off to the side of the plate without getting all over the main entree or whatever. But, or that's just one example that drives me nuts, but, or it's like, hey, where's my sausage? I'm like, all you said was waffles and eggs. You didn't ask for sausage.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I've started being incredibly self-conscious, probably to the point where it's a fault at this point. I'm
Yeah.
being way too self-conscious about what I say because I realize that I'm not the best at communicating what I'm thinking, so I'm trying to put in the extra effort, but I think I'm putting in too much effort to the point where I can't communicate well even then.
I hear you. I've been trying that too at work. Just old habits die hard.
Yeah.
And I know, like, a lot of times they've said, stop arguing. I'm like, I'm not trying to argue, but just the way I am, I will vehemently not apologize for something that's not my fault. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm trying to be like,
I've learned this from being around you. So I've learned this from being around you long enough. So I've learned a lot of things from being around you guys that hopefully I'm learning everybody's tics and habits. I hope.
It's just, I don't know. It's like, I'm not
that's
above, little white lies at times. In fact, I remember one time Jessie just lost it when she's like, you just straight up made that up to your mom. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm not necessarily lying to be malicious. I'm self-conscious about the truth. So I'm trying to make it sound a little more unembarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, I'm like, I'm not going to take credit. Like, because at work, they're like, hey, thank Luke for that. I'm like, yeah, but you're the one who made it. I'm like, yeah, but you helped, so I'm going to give you the credit for it. But I'm like, but I didn't make it. I'm not responsible for it. And it goes both ways. I don't like letting something go. Again, I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm trying to break this habit, but I'm like, I'm not going to apologize for something that's legitimately not my fault here.
The one thing that I struggle with, that I'm trying to get better at, if it isn't obvious from anybody who's listened to our stuff, I like being positive. So the downside is that whenever people talk about anything like negative, whether it's warranted or not, my immediate reaction is to try to focus on the positives or to try to prove why it's totally fine. Which is a bad habit, because sometimes when people are complaining about stuff and I'm there being like, oh, well, think about this, they're like, I wasn't asking for that, Kendall!
Kendall!
So it's gotten to the point where sometimes I have to ask people, like, okay, are you venting? Are you venting, or are you asking for advice?
Now, wait, are the lights legitimately shorting out in game, or is that a glitch?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I legitimately don't know.
But anyway, so I actually
it's shorting out in game, or else the area around you wouldn't be lighting up.
Yeah, so one of my friends actually got in the habit of if she wanted to vent, she would just come to me being like, I want to vent. And then I would know, like, okay, don't say anything, just be one of those people that say, man, that sucks, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So I sometimes have to clarify with people, like, are you venting? Okay, I won't say anything then.
I had a roommate who, he wasn't the person who always looked on the positive side, it was more, he just wasn't very smart or very conscious of other people's feelings in a sense. So there was this one girl that me and my roommate, this is just so you know, so
delete that name for me.
Yeah.
So me and the name I just said, we'd be talking about how much we hated this one girl because she acted like she was the most important thing in the universe. Her shit didn't stink, and she really wasted our time because he agreed to run we both agreed to run like a tech rehearsal for her, run the lights, and she showed up an hour late for it. Now that was just the setup for this particular time that we hated, that we were getting angry with this girl, but we had plenty of reason to hate her guts. And we were just kind of venting it off, and then our other idiot roommate, it's like, well, I haven't personally had any problems with her, so I don't know what the issue is. I'm like, well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have not had very much dealings with her, so you can't really weigh in on the conversation. Stop just trying to say we shouldn't complain because you don't have a reason to complain. Like, I just realized that's not what you're doing, Flays. You're trying to find something positive, not just saying,
Yeah,
well,
you're trying to make
my opinion, so I don't see what the problem is, you know? You're just more like, well, there's this, etc.
You're trying to put a positive spin to make the other person feel better, which sometimes that's not what they want.
Exactly, which is why I sometimes have to ask them, being like, okay,
Are you here to vent?
Are you here to vent? Because if you are, I just need to know. Because
Ooh.
I realize sometimes I don't register when people want certain things, so sometimes I just have to be upfront, being like, I don't know what you want right now, so please tell me.
Hey, at least you're conscious of it.
I'm trying to get better.
Ooh, pretty
I'm trying to
silly.
get better and trying to, like, I think I talked about this last time we recorded this. I'm trying to get better about, like, talking about differing opinions and all this other stuff. Because it is important, but it's, yeah, it could be tiring.
And I will say, to this friend's defense, he was socially tone deaf about everything. So whether that makes it better or worse is all up to you.
He lived in a really small town, right? So he's really
so he was
sheltered. So
because I remember both he and I had similar situations. We did a lot of theater in high school. Like, he was always cast as the lead. I wasn't the lead, I usually got very big supporting characters. So when I went to college and I just wasn't getting cast in anything, it was kind of a big eye-opener for me to be like, oh, I'm actually not that great of an actor. I only got the roles I did in high school because of my size and stature.
Also, you were a dude.
That too.
Yeah.
So
At least in our area.
I woke up pretty quickly and realized, okay, you have a lot to learn. Like, your high school experience shouldn't really be. I shouldn't just cling to high school and be like, why isn't it like that? I'm good. Whereas he, for the longest time, kept being like, I don't get it. In high school, I was in all the plays. I played all the leads. I'm like, why am I not getting cast? And the roommate, the aforementioned one that I was venting with, was like, that's high school. College and above are a completely different beast.
Yeah.
And just no matter how many times we told him that, he just was like, why am I not getting cast? I used to always be cast.
There was one time one of my teachers back in the college where I got my associate's degree, he mentioned how I can't remember if I'm honest, but he had a peer, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And the peer was really good at art, and they excelled a lot, but there got to be a point where the peer essentially started believing, like, oh man, I'm amazing.
I'm all that in a bag of chips.
And then because of that, he peaked and he plateaued, and so his work stayed the same. And so the long story, that was freaky. I'm sorry.
What was that? What? I missed
it was
it.
like a glitching texture.
I think so, but oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. So the teacher basically was using that as an example of, like, yeah, it's important to, be proud of what you're doing, but it's also important to think about how you can continue to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, to quote, a lot to quote, I don't remember the exact wording, but in the show Bleach, the crazy scientist guy was fighting the crazy scientist monster. The monster guy claimed he was perfect, and the scientist then killed him very brutally, saying, I hate perfection. As soon as perfection is reached, there's nothing more to learn. There's nothing new or anything like that.
I can respect
I'm
that.
majorly paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what it said, but it's
Right.
like, the minute you think that you have nothing more to learn is the minute you stop growing.
Yeah, which I can really agree to, which is part of the reason why, now that I'm, fingers crossed, hopefully out of college, I hope everything went through. I still gotta check that. But, like, as soon as I started getting out of college, I started looking, like, introspectively, like, oh, this is something I want to improve on myself, or, like, learn how to do better. So, like, even though I'm hopefully out of college, I'm still gonna try to do my best to grow and stuff. Because that's life. I'm gonna try to do my best. I won't do it as perfectly as maybe other people expect, but I'm gonna at least try. Dang it.
Oh, hey.
What are you doing down here?
Thanks to you, you've given humanity a chance.
Oh yeah, I'm assuming this is because you brought so many people back.
Give it for you. This trinket will enhance your raw power, making you an even more formidable threat.
Rider's Mercy.
Ooh. Cool.
Cool, thank you, dude.
Thank you, you best.
Yeah, because I know that... So I actually learned how to cook. Like, I mean, I went to school, but the culinary school was complete garbage, but I've actually mostly learned how to cook from the hospital I work in and from my, chefs, my immediate superiors, and they've often said how much they actually really like having me there because I'm actually willing to listen and take their advice. Whereas we had this other cook who just really thought his shit did not stink a couple years back. I was so happy when this guy quit, because he's like, I got a better job elsewhere, only for him to actually not last at the other job because of how uncooperative he was.
Oh my gosh.
And he actually tried crawling back, but we're like, we filled the position and we're much better off without you and your attitude.
Yeah.
But, like, he was constantly and actively going against what the head chef was saying. Like, the head chef, don't get me wrong, I've since learned that the head chef at the time was pretty bad, and he had a lot of practices, he really took advantage of those who worked for him, etc., etc. But he had to leave for about 3 weeks for surgery. He had to have surgery on his foot. His first day gone, this other slimy douchebag cook said, now that he's gone, think of all the work we're going to get done now. Because it's like, if by work you mean you spend all your time arguing with the head chef about how you're supposed to do it, then yes, technically we're going to get your definition of work done. But if you just weren't such a conceited jerk who insisted that you were always right, we'd be getting a lot of work done all the time.
That something similar actually happened at one of my cousin's places. I won't go into detail because it's too much, but something similar also happened there. And actually, I hear about it in a lot of other places, and it seems like a lot more people are becoming less tolerant of employees like that, and at least in one situation of someone I know, they actually started reporting stuff about that. Because, I mean, I think I recently did an employment harassment kind of thing. So I think that's in a lot of people's heads of people being like, I think this could fall under the guidelines, or at least I should consult about it, you know?
Yeah. I've always found it interesting when I took my HR class, just how many things could and potentially should be reported.
Yeah.
That it's almost kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, you need that amount of ridiculousness as having to, like, protect your ass.
Yeah, for, like, a lot of different situations.
I mean, like, I think when we were talking about, like, sexual harassment, it was like, you two could be totally okay with these dirty jokes you make towards each other.
Yeah.
But if someone else in the office is not okay with it and they report you, you will be fired. You will be liable for it, even though the two it was happening between were totally fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I had something similar. I was telling just kind of the backroom team, I don't want to say we were super tight, like we didn't hang out outside of work, but we were all very comfortable with each other, with maybe a few exceptions that everyone hated because of how lazy they were. I digress, moving on. I was telling them this racist joke I had originally heard on the internet about Mario, about basically saying, I'm not going to say the punchline because the punchline is really racist, but Mario is an Italian plumber who was made by a Japanese guy.
That one.
I'm going to stop there, but you get the idea. So the punchline is pretty damn racist, and my immediate superior was like, hey, just for the record, I know it's a joke, I know you don't mean it, but you are still at work, and there are a lot of Mexicans and other ethnicities here, so just be careful with what you say.
I think that's a good thing to say.
That's how...
Just to be like, hey, just so you know, like...
Yeah, that's...
And actually, I do have a follow-up to that, when I actually was like, I was pissing my pants, because I was telling my coworkers about Jay Leno back when he was still on The Tonight Show. I think it was like his last show. He did a thing called Headlines, where he showed various headlines that could be very easily taken the wrong way. And he was doing wedding headlines about people with goofy last names. Like, specifically, he did one, since it was his last show, it's like, hey, they can't fire me for showing these. So one was called the Fudge Butts Wedding. And then the one that I was telling them about was the man's last name was gay, the woman's last name was...
Right, yeah.
I think I have mentioned.
Yeah, I remember that.
The F word.
Yeah.
So again, that's what I was clarifying, because I saw him walk in right as I said it, and I'm like, again, that's just what the headline said between these two. Like, a man's last name was this, because I just wanted to overemphasize my crap, I'm gonna get in. And then he walked right up to me, I'm like, I'm gonna get fired. It's like, hey Luke, I need to tell you something, here it comes. So I knew a woman whose name was Gail, but back then the abbreviation was gay. She married a man's last name who was, let's see, it was gay, Hooker. Whose last name was Hooker. She then moved and lived on a street called Ferry Street. So it was the gay hooker from Ferry Street. Like, oh, I saw my boss in a new light that day.
You're like, oh, okay.
I'm not going to be fired.
I feel like
Mistress.
there are a lot of... Oh.
Talisman. We're close. This time you watch. You do not speak.
Don't move very much. Okay, Sunshine?
I feel like there's a lot that can be solved if you just take the time to try and understand the other person.
Yeah.
And just try to also, like, if something is making you uncomfortable, please
Just say
tell
it.
Because
Say
most of
it.
the time, like, people aren't
They-
intentionally mean and they will help
Well, I
you.
think she's
Yeah.
saying the episode's on
Yeah,
over.
but no, you make a good point. It's important. This is the thing that I got away from the employee thing, and I think it applies to everything. It's important to like communicate, like, I am uncomfortable with this, and if they're like, oh, I will try to do better. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's okay if they mess up as long as you remind them, like, hey, I said this, and they're like, oh, shoot, you're right, I'm so sorry. But if they like, if you say that and they're like, oh, it's fine or whatever, and it continues to be a
Yeah,
problem,
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's when it's bad.
We'd have students like that, and you could tell the ones that really did not mean it. And you were
Yeah.
like, I will see you a lot at the principal's office, won't I?
And I mean, just as an example, within our own community, I keep screwing up Valentine's pronoun, but because I immediately apologize and let them know
Did it! I'm so proud of you!
that I'm not trying to force them to be a woman. It's just I'm not used to calling people them, and the name Valentine makes me think she because of my Valentine from Yu-Gi-Oh. They're usually very forgiving, and they even stated to me in a message, as
Yeah.
long as you realize what you've done and apologize, it's okay.
Isn't there's sorry to derail, there's like a Valentine in Final Fantasy that's male, isn't there?
I actually
I don't know, actually.
I don't
think
know.
so.
Time to Google it.
Anyway,
Google
that's
it.
an episode.
I'll tell you guys next episode.
Next time, bye!